take of $100 million and a $700 million return for his investors. Burry has recently forecasted a massive downturn in the US economy by 2023, and his warning is one to be taken seriously, given his track record for predicting market trends. It's interesting to note that Burry founded the hedge fund Scion Capital using only a small inheritance. This venture eventually led to his success as an investor and his reputation as a financial guru. His background as a neurologist also adds an interesting layer to his story, demonstrating that he's a multi-talented individual with a unique perspective on the world of finance. Given Burry's impressive record of accurately predicting market trends, it's worth paying attention to what he has to say about the future of the US economy. Let's look at Michael Burry's latest warning for the US in 2023. Burry's warning about the potential for a massive spike in inflation is something that should be taken seriously. He says that inflation will peak, and the Federal Reserve, which was already raising interest rates to a level not seen since the 2008 financial crisis, will pivot and cut rates. In addition, Burry suggests that the federal government should announce a stimulus package to help the economy. However, Burry warns that this will result in another inflation spike, similar to what happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic brought many challenges to the world, one of which was an increase in inflation. This phenomenon occurred due to various factors such as supply chain disruptions, production shutdowns, and the surge in demand for specific goods like personal protective equipment and household items. Governments and central banks took measures to support their economies by injecting money into them, resulting in a reduction in the supply of goods and an increase in demand. This combination caused prices to rise and led to inflation. However, it's worth noting that this inflation spike was temporary and resulted from the unique circumstances of the pandemic. But the case of 2023 is different. Why is this so? Well, stick with us till the end of this video to find out. Before we get into why the case of 2023 will be utterly different from what happened during the pandemic, you should know that Michael Burry isn't the only one predicting an economic downturn for the US. The prospect of a recession in the United States has become a growing concern for many investors and economists. And while Michael Burry, the founder of Scion Capital, is the latest expert to warn about the impending economic turbulence, other famous entrepreneurs and investors have also shared their predictions. Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla, predicts that the US economic downturn could last up to 18 months. Meanwhile, Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon.com, also shared similar predictions. Michael Burry's latest prediction regarding the US economy is gaining even more credibility with a recent survey conducted by Bloomberg. In December 2022, 38 economists predicted in the survey that their prediction showed a 70% chance of a recession in 2023, up from 65% in November. The economists predict the consumer spending, which makes up 2/3 of the GDP, will barely increase in the middle 6 months of the year. The median estimates for GDP growth in 2023 are only 0.3%, which indicates a significant slowdown in economic activity. Not just that, Bank of America chief economist Michael Burry also thinks that the US is headed for a recession in 2023, although this outcome is not guaranteed. It's not baked in, it's not for certain. We may be able to avoid it, but I would agree that the outlook by most people who sit in the position that I do think 2023 could be a difficult year for the US, he said on Face the Nation. So, why would 2023 case be utterly different from what happened during the pandemic? Well, listen to this.
Michael Burry, made famous by Michael Lewis in his book The Big Short and played by Christian Bale, of course, in the movie, put out a fun-filled tweet that I think we need to dissect a little bit. I've got it up here on the screen. He says, yeah, inflation peaked, but it's not the last peak of this cycle. He says we will go lower and maybe
pressures by discouraging consumption, investment, employment. However, these higher interest rates may also result in decreased business earnings and subdued economic growth, potentially causing a decline in asset prices and leading to a recession. Therefore, it's important to balance the need to control inflation with the need to avoid a recession, a balancing act that is not always easy to achieve. The Federal Reserve is likely to continue to monitor this situation and adjust its policies accordingly to ensure a stable economy. While the future is uncertain, keeping an eye on inflation rates, interest rates, and economic growth can help investors make informed decisions about their financial portfolios. Michael Burry's prediction for 2023. He believes that there will be a decrease in inflation and a weakening economy, which could cause the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates and the government to increase spending to boost growth. However, this approach may lead to a resurgence of inflation. This means that while the government's intervention may revive the economy and increase demand, it may also lead to another wave of high inflation. Burry's warning highlights the complex relationship between inflation, interest rates, and government spending. While governments and central banks try to control inflation and maintain economic growth through interest rates and spending policies, the outcome is often unpredictable, with unintended consequences. Finally, this prediction raises the question: how will the US economy fare in the coming years? Will the government's policy response lead to sustained economic growth or further instability? To find out, then you need to watch our video on "This is 10 times worse than a recession."